Okay, so let's move on into gymnastics club.
Well, I'm not worried about getting reelected. I think it should be 0.
You care to tell us why?
Read their application. The sole reason that they're wanting it is in order to
For marketing purposes.
Well, you look at page 3 of the application. As you are aware, the hourly rental of the mixed gym has increased from $10 last year to $16 to as much as $32. This is a tripling in context. So basically, it's to cover off their increased rent. And if you look at their financial statement, there's $15,000 down for rent paid. And so.
What's the actual rent that they did?
Well, yeah, there's a few things in there, but basically they're more than just a recreational program. They're a competitive organization and.
To what?
For competitive gymnastics.
Oh, competitive.
Yeah. So in past, we've given them very good rates for their use of the gym, and we've also paid for grants to provide equipment. So.
And do we pay for insurance too?
No, they run their own program. They've got a project, but it's for development, and a lot of those things I would normally just consider operating expenses.
My understanding is that there's some equipment required though too, so.
There's $2,400 for a balance beam in this list.
Yeah, with unsafe equipment, it doesn't make much sense to have a gymnastics program, would be my argument.
Yeah.
Why they should get partial payment.
So the only amount I could even conceivably think would be $2,400 for the balance beam.
Which is $200 less than recommended by our director of finance. So, can we have a motion for the 2,600 and nobody wants to? Maybe they want to.
Well, this one, in my opinion, is sort of why, historically speaking, it's difficult to make these decisions. I mean,
Yeah.
What is the policy versus competitive versus community? Because, so again, an independent selection jury is better at this than.
Yeah, I know, but we're stuck.
So.
But one of the criteria is demonstrated financial need.
Right.
And
with $15,000 in the bank, that
they've got $96,000 worth of income and
It was basically a net wash.
$90,000 of.
I mean, there must be
their
travel
actual.
expenses.
It's hard to, But
One piece of information that people might want to mull around, these figures might not be completely accurate, but I think they're in the ballpark. It wasn't mentioned in the application what the students pay per week or per month. So I did some digging and found out that there's from what I understand, there's 2 tiers. There's a preschool amount that families would pay, and then there's an amount for school-aged children. And it's in a 3-month session. And the fee is $80 to $108 for preschool. That's the figure that I was given. And the school age are $180 for every 3 months. So when you look at the cost of other leisure activities for programming for kids, it's actually very, very low.
It is low.
Oh, it's very low.
Is it 3 months?
Dance classes, piano, guitar, you're typically paying $100 to $120 a month. And that's just for one, like if you're taking dance, for instance, you're often paying, 100 times 3. So because your kid's not involved in one dance class, you're involved in 2 or 3. So in the scheme of things, when you look at the programming that's available on the island, it's great that they're offering it at this price, but they're asking the municipality for, was $15,000 was the.
Oh, that was,
so
that was their ask.
Yeah, I'm just putting in context. So So I think people should keep that in mind when they're, and the same thing goes with the football club too. Like when you have these clubs that have large memberships, and the gymnastics club doesn't have the numbers that,
No.
I'm not sure of the exact amount of their
75 children.
75 now, it used to be 130 at their highest. So 75 isn't huge, but.
But it's a good point you make, you know, more members, less money per person to afford the extras.
Well, exactly, yeah, like I think I did the math on the football, on the benches, and it was around $20 a head.
13.
Is it 13?
13.
Okay, I was being generous, I thought it was 18. So with the gymnastics club, it's, for them to subsidize, it's gonna be way more than $20 a head,
Mhm.
but their fees are quite low.
Of course, that encourages people
Yep, yeah.
to join.
But they also have a paid administrator and paid instructors too. So, you know, you have to weigh that against other, this again gets to criteria. You have other organizations that are completely volunteer based, and you know, when it comes to financial need, how should the municipality look on an organization that has semi-staff versus completely volunteer? The programming is similar.
So how should we leave that?
We haven't had a move.
We haven't had a
move on the recommendation.
Karen?
This is one that's also interesting to look at what's been awarded in the past, because
Not much.
last year, that's right, they received 1,000 as a grant in aid. So if you look at the history of it, this is something else that's wrestled with in the past as well.
And it's always been more specific to acquisition of pieces of equipment, if my
Mhm.
memory serves me correct.
Mhm.
I guess the real question is there an aptitude to provide the funding for the apparatus that's needed to balance it, which would be a big ticket item.
Yeah, I think so.
Well, I think that's what we,
Yeah.
I think that's the way we have to look at it.
Yeah.
Well, that's $2,400 in their budget.
You know, does that include taxes and stuff? I mean, 2,600, the $200 difference is gonna make,
Well, I'm assuming their budget would be for everything included.
yeah.
I would move that we give them the equivalent to the 2010 award of $3,400.
I'll second that. Sorry, what does that mean, the equivalent of?
In 2010, we got $3,400.
Right.
Saying let's repeat that amount, $3,400 this year.
Okay, and there's a seconder for that?
Yeah.
Well, I want to weigh in on this. I think $2,600 is the limit that we can afford. We're prepared to contribute something to them buying equipment. I think that's important. I think it's important to keep the club going, but I cannot see putting more money than that. Just enough
You
money
can
for
move an
equipment.
amendment to the motion to change the number.
Well, I do that amendment if there's a second.
I'll second that.
Thank you.
The amendment was to change 3,400 to 2,600.
Or to
27?
26, to whatever was recommended.
2,400, which is the budget amount that balanced me.
Okay, the budget balance, 2,400.
No, it's 26.
No, 2,400 on their submission is the amount that balanced me.
Any further discussion?
Current motion on the floor.
Is an
On the
amendment to amend
amendment.
the
So that's the first one.
3,600 to 2,400.
We're voting on the amendment.
Voting on the
Should we have discussion on that, or?
That's what I'm asking.
Okay.
Any further discussion? Okay, so the first question then is in favor of the amendment to change it from 3,400 to 2,400. All those in favor? Okay. Those against? Are you against? Yeah, 2 against. Thank you. And then on the Original motion
Okay.
as amended. All those in favor? Thank you.
So that's 2,400.
24.
Okay. I have the answer on the Abbeyfield. It's $1,823 is their 2012 taxes.
I move that we make grant Abbeyfield in the amount of $1,823.
Second.
Second.
Thank you. Any further discussion on Abbeyfield? None? All those in favor? Thank you.
In case anybody wants to know, we can't do property tax exemptions for vacant land. That's why we have to do this grant process.
Thank you. Family Place. The
I would support
request,
$10,000 for family place. Because it's everybody knows how crucial 6x6 and early childhood education, and it's a way to get the mothers and everybody out and talking to one another. That's very important.
Hold on a second.
I would completely agree with Allison's assessment. Family Place is one of those organizations that, unless you're a family of young parents, it flies under the radar, but it's really the gateway organization for young families, and particularly the mothers and kids, and the mothers who are isolated. Their fathers are, I'm being chauvinistic here, but often the spouses will be off island working, and they're home alone, and they're completely isolated, and Family Place is their way into the community. So
Yeah.
it's hugely important.
I would agree with that.
My understanding is that this makes up most of their operating budget too, so without it, they're not really there.
So is the recommendation for the recommended amount or the full amount?
She said
The full amount.
10,000, okay, yeah.
But just a second, let me look at the financial statements. No, they've got, in their budget, they're budgeting for $53,000 worth of income, so ours is,
20%.
they've applied to BC Gaming, they get something from the Ministry of Children and Family Development, and then.
Oh, but I meant
their
this grant goes right to their operations, so it's not for a specific.
No, it's an
Yeah.
operating grant, just like Trinity offices.
Yeah.
Question? All those in favor? Thank you.
Sorry, how much was that?
10,000.
10,000.
Okay, thank you.
The football club, I'm curious about their application. Because there's a date on it. It's dated February 14th. So should it not be in the $2,000 pot then, rather than, because it came in after the deadline for the bigger amount?
We, consistent with, I think the year before, we missed the advertising deadline, so we extended the open time for organizations that contacted us as soon as they saw the ad and said, like in the ad we ran, we said we extended the deadline as well. Trying to find that one. Under random order.
It's in the bigger application.
All right, this, we have a motion on the table for the,
Oh, I was just clarifying whether we dealt with it as a maximum pot of 2,000 under the grants and aid because of the timeline of when it came in. Everything else came in before January 31st. And the deadline on the form is January 31st.
Yeah, that's because we forgot to advertise. So we did, when we ran our ad, we said we extended the deadline.
we have a motion.
Karen, maybe, where are we at total?
Yeah, I was waiting to bring an update on that. $1,700. Well, if you're only going to save $6,000 for the fall grants and aid,
Yeah.
there's about $1,700 left, that $1,650 left that can be reallocated
Oh, okay,
this
but,
year from my recommended column.
so we've got about $8,600 to play with.
You mean including the 6,000 connects for fall?
Yeah.
Yep, that's correct.
So the 8,600 doesn't include the 6.
It does. That's what I'm saying.
So the community grants now add to how much?
I'm more doing it the opposite. I'm subtracting off. Sorry. I should keep it two different ways.
I'm gonna give you the totals.
Okay, we're gonna be over this.
Well, that's, I wanna know how much we've got left for the little guys, that's why I'm sort of asking.
Okay, so far 120,337 has been allocated.
120, 337, and the total plus the 6 for the fall, so 126. And how much is the total budget?
136,568.
So we got 10,000, just over $9,000.
Right.
10,000.